Out vlogging with a dog. Then a little article, yeah. The thing that really screws people up, pun intended, prison officers and the like, is speaking out against something when you know something's wrong, pointing it out, bringing it to people's attention, yeah. Injustices, and then something goes tits up, something does go really wrong. Like in the case of this with Zahid. Yeah, that's what ruins people. It ruins people. You know something's wrong, you're against it, and then everyone's against you. Yeah, it happens. Out with the dog. Thanks for coming. Thanks for everyone who supported the channel. Again, comments. Amazing. Cheers. I'll see you. How do? Go on then, beautiful. Come on. Zahid Mubarek. He was a young lad killed at Feltham round about the millennium. He was 20 years old when he died. He had been in a cell at Feltham Young Offenders Institute with a lad who was racist, psycho, crazy. The staff had a good idea what he was like. He would eventually batter Zahid with a table leg. He went to hospital and died from his injuries. There was an inquiry around about 2006. I don't know, 80 odd recommendations. This is what quite often happens in this case. 55 or thereabouts were accepted. At the end of this little vlog with a dog, if you hang around, I'm going to read an article. So firstly, that case, and then I'm going to tell you about an incident round about 2627 that happened where I worked. So that cases like that, you imagine you've got a young lad, British Pakistani, in a cell with a known racist. Got a tattoo on his head, crazy. Incidentally, this lad got 18 years for that murder. He's had one parole. Not safe to be let out for the public. I'm just going to follow the boy while I'm talking. Not safe for him to be let out with the public. His next parole is 2024. I'm thinking this lad should have been to some psychiatric hospital, he should be medicated, and he should have had some assessment and treatment. Whether that has happened, I don't know. Okay. Something else that's just come to mind. Quite often like this when I'm vlogging. A prison officer, excuse that guys, a prison officer who worked at Feltham Young Offenders Institute at the time, ended up in a bad way and out of the job. They are quite bitter and I fully understand why. Let me tell you what happens. So I can imagine there, this lad's died, being battered by some crazy guy. Staff knew this guy was crazy, racist, lots of things around this. This officer spoke out and had been speaking out about this situation. You know, young British Pakistani in a cell with a racist. What happens in situations like this? When you see the films, Roman soldiers, yeah, on the battlefield, or Roman soldiers getting attacked, yeah, they form squares, yeah? They all have the shields, they form a square. Anyone in there is protected, you're all looking out, you're protecting each other. That's what happens with a prison service. Yeah, they form a square. Everyone's watching each other's back. Anyone outside that square, this officer speaking out about what had happened, you know, had been very vocal about this. There's lots of things about this case that, you know, were quite definitely not right, but quite definitely prison service type incident, something that could have been prevented, something that people had highlighted, but something that wasn't acted on. So this officer, maybe one day, hopefully, she doesn't live in this country now. I know what it's like. She will have been treated terribly. Yeah, so-called friends slagging her off. The prison service, you know, is very good in incidents like this, and this is something else that we need to mention at covering things up. Yeah, it's about protecting your own back. It's about the integrity of the prison service, and in a lot of cases like this, there is no integrity. Yeah, serious incidents. Paperwork when I was in the job, bob on, always spot on. CNR, control and restraint paperwork, all filed, documented, medical documents in there, incident reports, SIRs, everything you need, all filed appropriately. Yeah, until there's a serious incident and then bits go missing. Yeah, you see, a prison, and I've said this before, is only as good as the number one governor. Stevie, this way, kid. He's only as good as the number one governor. The number one governor's got integrity. He's an honest person. Things will get investigated properly, especially in situations like this. Quite often, things get covered up. And that goes all the way up to the top. A prison officer can't cover some up on his own. He needs a senior officer, principal officer, governors, and the like. It happens. It's wrong, but it quite definitely happens. So this officer will have been ousted. You know, I can't, I'm trying not to swear, she will have been treated worse than a dog. That's what we say. You know, you look at my dog, a lot of people treat the dogs well, but you know what I mean. They're almost silenced. You know, when they speak out, people try and ridicule them. That's something that always happens. They ridicule people. And people end up in a bad way, and they end up out at a job like this officer. And the other thing is, because the seriousness of this, you imagine, like I say, young lad in with a racist gets killed. People don't tell the truth, or they tell lies, falsify paperwork and the like. Very, very difficult. Just let that train pass. So we had an incident. I've tried to think of a timeline. I'm thinking 2006, 2007. So I was working on K-Wing. For those that are new to the channel, that was at Strangeways, HMP Manchester. It will always be known as Strangeways. Infamous for the riots, 1993. Big wing, 200 prisoners. It was almost bang up. 20 to 8, we got a prisoner on, a black lad. This lad, along with 3 others, had come to our prison from Risley, HMP Risley, a Cat C prison. So, first dealings with this lad. Can I have a shower? Yeah, you've got 20 minutes. We bang up at 8 o'clock, yeah. So off he goes to get a shower. About 10 minutes later, he comes up, he tries the phone. When you transfer prisons, yeah, you take your PIN number with you. A PIN number is literally a number you put in the phone. You have credit to make calls to approved people. People have to be approved to go on your phone list. He transferred prisons and he couldn't use his PIN. He just landed with us. So he started kicking off straight away. I want a senior officer's PIN call. Senior officer used to have a PIN in the office, used to have an amount of credit on the phone, as it were. And I could put the PIN in, input the PIN, and give someone a phone call. Yeah, which I did many, many times. At this time, there was no senior officer, so we couldn't facilitate it. I told him it would be morning. You're racist. Straight away, you're racist. So the officer I was working with said, whoa, hold on a minute. You know, you've just come on the wing, told you can have a shower. Can't facilitate a phone call at this time. We'll be starting to bang up. You're racist too. Anyway, got quite, shall we say, in our faces. Boom! Then there's an alarm bell. Up on the 3's landing, we're off. yeah? That conversation's done. We're up on the freeze landing. We ended up in a restraint. I ended up in a restraint, restraining 2 prisoners who were fighting. Well, it's always a fight, but it was an assault. 1 prisoner is battering another prisoner. So we restrained that lad, took him to the seg. Never thought no more about this lad. So next day, it turns out this lad was part of a gang of 5 black lads who were doing racist attacks at Risley. We got 3 at Strangeways. Like I said, 2 had gone somewhere else. This lad we got on K-Wing was one of them. They'd been beating up prisoners from other ethnicities and white. Racist words and language, you know, you white, whatever, beating them. You, I don't want to use any inappropriate words, but you know what I'm talking about, yeah? Anyway, he'd been marked as a racist when he'd come on our wing the night before, 20 to 8. As I say, I know nothing about this because I was in a restraint, I was off the wing. We only had one place, one cell on the wing. He was put in with a white lad, a young white lad, quite a vulnerable white lad. I knew him quite well. You know, he was well out of place in prison. He was in for something and nothing. During the night, yeah, he was at the end of the wing on the Two's Landing where the cleaners were housed there, prisoners who get jobs cleaning the wing. They alerted staff 3 times over a half-hour period about something going on in this cell. Eventually, you see, the staff at the time didn't believe it, and in order to deal with something like that, you imagine you have got a racist in with somebody and something's going off. There is paperwork. You need to get the Oscar 1 and Oscar 2. They're the night shift managers, and a dog at Strangeways, because it's high security estate, to open the cell and take someone out. Maybe they didn't want to do that, I don't know. But the cleaners were persistent. It turns out this lad had tried to strangle this other lad, yeah? So we had a racist, yes, he was black, in with a white lad who tried to strangle him. That could have been another death. Yeah, that could have been another Zahid. That was in 2006. The lad, I never saw him again. He was moved off, and it wasn't long before he was released, but he had marks around his neck where this other lad had been trying to basically kill him. Yeah, mistakes happen. From the Zahid incident, lots of things arrived, one being CSRA's, cell sharing risk assessments, yeah, which is just what it says. You do a risk assessment. Now, you could have a racist, a white racist, in with someone else who was white. You could have a black racist in with someone else who was black, and the like. It's about, you know, making people safe. A lot of prison spaces now are single cells, but you can see it's quite easy for something to happen. I'm going to leave that there. I've gone on long enough. I'm going to read a bit of the article when I get back. Only a short bit. Very sad tale indeed, but these things, very difficult to prove, very difficult to investigate because people close ranks, and then good officers end up in bad places. Cheers. Stevie. Rotated. Parting shot. Have you been waiting patiently? Who's this? Eh? Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming. I'll see you. I'll do. I'm only going to read a little bit of this pinned comment. I will put this article. Exclusive, racist prison killer 42 is denied parole after 22 years after beating his cellmate to death with a table leg and daubing a swastika on the wall in blood. Racist Robert Stewart, who has changed his surname, has been denied parole. Simon, it's getting a bit regular, this crashing, isn't it? Parole board deemed him too dangerous to be released or moved to open prison. Former skinhead was jailed for murder of his cellmate, Zahid Mubarek, in 2000 after he daubed a swastika on the wall of Feltman Institution in blood. I'm just going to go to where we are. Right. Passing sentence in November 2000, Mr. Justice Grigson told Stewart, as you are a danger to yourself and a danger to the public, Custody for life is wholly appropriate. In one, oh yeah, lots of stuff here. Clues about this guy being a racist. It's everywhere. It was in his notes. He was transferred because he was racist. I'm just wanting to find a bit. Oh, here we go. The public inquiry, which was led by the High Court Judge, Mr. Justice Keith, began in 2004 following an unprecedented decision by the law lords. They ordered the then Home Secretary David Blunkett to hold a public inquiry into the murder after lawyers for Zahid's family argued that the European Convention on Human Rights entitled them to one. 3 weeks after the beginning of his probe, the judge ruled previous inquiries that established Feltham was institutionally racist, and they accepted that conclusion. The inquiry heard allegations that prison officers set up gladiator-style fights by placing vulnerable inmates in cells with racist prisoners. There's lots of stuff in here, but basically the family of this lad, bless them, and him, had to fight for an inquiry, like I say. Lots of stuff that's disturbing. I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Pinned comment, I will put this article. Cheers, thanks for coming. Thanks for everyone's continued support. I'll see you there.